on your brother tonight. Let your brother count on you every play tonight. Okay? And then come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NET.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to bEast from the East. It's week 8 already, and we've got some good games to talk about from last week, and we'll preview this week's upcoming games. Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney. Alongside me tonight is Mr. Red Zone OT, K.O. Kyle Owens. What's up, Kyle?
What's going on, Brett? How are you?
Man, I'm worn out. It's been a long, put a lot of miles on the vehicle this week going to games, and we got lots of good ones to talk about. Kind of open with some of the games that we went to, not necessarily on our pick'ems, but some games you got to see last week. Thursday night, you saw a Westwood team. You got to see them in person. What'd you think about them? I know you saw them, I think, earlier in the year, right? This was the second time you got to see them. So how was your second impression of the Westwood Panthers over there?
Just as impressed as I was the first time. I mean, Kavian Bryant, John Denman, Kaysen Dial, Boston Anderson, they got so many studs over there on that team. That Chris Carter, which is a good name for a receiver, by the way. But they have so many studs over there in Westwood, and that was my first time going to Panther Stadium over there. A little bit of a different setup. It's interesting. They have press boxes on both sides, kind of, and I guess the visitor side's where the visiting coaches sit, and then you have the press box over here with the PA and all that. But it was interesting. The radio, I think it was radio from Crockett, or it may have been some coaches. I'm not sure. But I think it was their radio was sitting actually in the stands under that coach's press box on the visitor side. So it's an interesting setup there at Panther Stadium, but heck of a ball game. And it was it was over by the end of the first quarter, honestly. I mean, Crockett got one because Westwood missed a tackle, and the Crockett player, Corey Simon, I believe, took off and went for a long touchdown on a pass. But other than that, it was all Westwood Panthers, and they are phenomenal to watch. I really like watching them play.
Yeah, on Thursday night, I traveled to Cayuga, Texas, and followed the Carlisle Indians over there for a really good opening district matchup between them. Just a back and forth slugfest between two teams. Both teams had quarterbacks that have gone down earlier in the season. So you had a couple of backups in. I've seen Camacho play. He's played over the last 2 or 3 weeks for Carlisle. Did what he does. Uses his legs. They power the ball with him and him flinging around the yard. But what I was impressed with from Cayuga, man, they got some tall dudes in Cayuga. I think they've got receivers at like 6'7", 6'5", 6. I asked the coach after the game, Coach McGee. I said, "You guys should be pretty good in basketball, right?" He's like, "Yeah, we should be pretty good." They've got some tall guys for that classification. But man, they were throwing it up to him. They had receiver Johnson caught several touchdowns. And we got to try out our new internet device, and it worked. And so we had a pretty successful stream. Got to go out there with Josh. He was with me, and Elijah on camera Thursday, and it was a lot of fun. Never been to Cayuga, so it was actually one big press box. Coaches were on top, and so you were in there with the PA, and everybody was in there together. There was no separation between. But needless to say, it was plenty of room, nice setup. The hospitality there was nice. I got a couple new app downloaders while we were in the press box. They now know about the NETSN app in Cayuga, and so they welcomed us back anytime. It was a really good game, 44-41 finish there, and it was a battle to the end. And so it was a great game for a Thursday night football game. A little bit closer game than the one you went to, Kyle.
Yeah, just a little bit, and I'm glad that y'all had a good time over there in Cayuga. And I told you, Coach McGee was awesome. He was when I got to talk to him in the off season, he was a really good conversation.
He came up and thanked us for being there after the game, and offered us sodas and water for the road, and I mean he took care of us top notch. And so it was congrats to them on getting their first district win there. That district's going to be very interesting. I think we may have a couple of more games in that district that we cover, but I think it's just kind of up in the air. This is one of those games that could have gone either way. And so Cayuga got it there, on that Thursday night game, 44-41. And then Friday, where were you at Friday, Kyle? Remind me. You were.
Well, I wasn't here, but I was in Edgewood, just 10 miles from Grand Saline, for a Highway 80 rivalry over in Van Zandt County. And I think I've called. I can't say for certain, but I want to say I've called an Edgewood Grand Saline game before, but I cannot say that for certain. But I mean, the energy Friday night was electric. I mean, it was standing room only in Edgewood, and they have a similar press box like you were talking about with Cayuga. Their press box is all one big press box. It's not separated. There's no dividers inside. It's just one big long box that everybody sits in.
I have a question, Kyle. Was it a basketball game played Friday night or a football game?
Well, listen, it is right there on the high school campus. I said we might as well just take it inside and to go play this one in the gym. I mean, it was ridiculous. The first play from scrimmage, Edgewood hits a 69-yard touchdown bomb from Trevor Golightly to Jason Johnson. 69 yards right off the bat. You're like, okay, all right.
Here we go.
And then Grand Saline goes right back down. And sophomore for Grand Saline, Colton Prox, he takes a little jet sweep and does a flip into the end zone. By the way, if you haven't seen the highlights, go check out the highlights on YouTube. But he does a flip into the end zone, and I'm like, okay, so we have a 69-yard bomb and a flip into the end zone. That's how we get this started. But it was the Jet Taylor and Colt Boyd show. I got some stats for you, Brett. You ready for this?
All right, I'm ready.
Jet Taylor, the Indians' junior quarterback, carried the ball 13 times for 290 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good average.
It's not bad. Not bad. Colt Boyd, a senior running back, he carried the ball 11 times for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Hmm.
Those two combined, just those two players combined, for 532 yards on 24 carries and 8 touchdowns on the ground. Now, overall, Grand Saline finished with 624 yards rushing and 28 yards passing. They had one pass. They threw one pass all game, and it was off of play action, a little screen off the play action, 28-yard touchdown pass. So they were 1 for 1 with a touchdown for 28 yards
Pretty good
through the
percentage.
air. Yeah, they had 652 yards of offense, Grand Saline did. But Edgewood was more balanced. They had 253 yards rushing and 263 yards passing for 516 yards of total offense. Two teams combined for 1,168 yards and 115 total points. So, yes, basketball game broke out on the football field. But I will tell you, Brett, this, and I said it on Red Zone Overtime on Friday night after the game, but this Grand Saline team this year reminds me so much of the 2016 Mineola team that won state, which was also coached by Joe Drennan, who is now the head coach at Grand Saline. So it's that year with Mineola, they had a quarterback running back combination, Jeremiah Crawford and Chance Perkins, that did the same thing Jet Taylor and Colt Boyd did. They ran it down everybody's throat. They didn't need to throw the ball. I mean, they didn't have to. Like they could run all the time, and the teams knew it was coming, but the O-line was strong, and you couldn't stop Jeremiah and Chance. This Grand Saline team's the same way. Like, they threw one pass and scored 75 points. It is insane what those Indians can do. So
that average sound like it was close to like 30 yards a carry almost on the average.
It was big play after big play. Like, it wasn't like they were doing 3 or 4 yards wearing it down. Like, there were holes that me and you could run through, and probably maybe we wouldn't have scored, but we would have picked up some good yards.
Ran like some gas there at the end. I might not have made it the whole way, but
they're big too. Like, they're a 3A D2 school, and they got some big boys. Like, Coach Drennan's been there for 4 years now. This is his 4th year at Grand Saline, and he is transforming Grand Saline into what Mineola looked like in 2016 when they made their state runs. Now, I'm not saying Grand Saline's headed to state. I'm not ready to go that far yet, but they are very, very good, and they're going to be a problem for anybody because defense and running the football travels. Doesn't matter if it's a road game. Doesn't matter if it's cold. If you can run the football, you can win a lot of football games, and Grand Saline can absolutely run the football.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, Friday night I traveled to Austin, Texas, Kyle.
That's a long trek. That's a long trek.
It was a long trek. Me, Rob, and Jason went down and called the game in Hyde Park at Hyde Park Baptist. Nice facilities there. Very interesting setup. I don't know if you got to catch any of the footage on it, but basically we were playing in the outfield of the baseball field. So the football field, baseball field was like a combination, and we were on the visitor where the visitors were sitting. So Brook Hill sideline was in front of us, but then you had both fans sitting on the same side as us. And we actually had to go up on top of the press box to cover this. So you know how big that black case I have is and how heavy it is. So we took the strategy of we brought an extra backpack and loaded up a bunch of equipment in and handed it up. And so it was a very interesting. Once we got up there, though, it was a nice view, nice setup there. Rob was actually right next to us, so it was kind of an interesting having the camera guy right next to us. And it was loud. The DJ they had was on point with every song they had some kind of meaning with the game. I mean, it was fun. The nice thing was we went back and listened to the stream, and our equipment was so good that I was afraid that all you were going to be able to hear was like that music playing, but the mics worked and the boom mic did what it needed to do. And it actually sounded pretty good. So, but it was a back and forth battle, an important game for Brook Hill as they dropped the first 2 games of district. Hyde Park was kind of that team that was picked in the top grouping, a playoff team. So an important game for them. And it was a back and forth battle. I mean, Brook Hill scored on their first drive, a 75-yard touchdown strike from Samuel Williams to Tyler Vining. And then Hyde Park countered, they scored. Then Brook Hill got it back. They got a 60-yard touchdown run by Samuel Williams. That's Samuel Williams kid. He's pretty good. Then you got then Hyde Park responded. Then Brook Hill came back, another touchdown run by Sam Williams for 5 yards. And that's the way the half ended. So you had Brook Hill up 21-14 after the first half. Hyde Park comes out with a 70-yard touchdown to start the next half. They tied up. Then you had back-to-back touchdown runs by Braxton Durrett. The second one on a drive where Sam Williams gets pulled down by a face mask on I think it was like a third and long, and kept Brook Hill on the field, but it took him off the field. He rolled his ankle. He had to come out of the game, didn't come back in. So Brook Hill was able to bring in the freshman quarterback, Zach Ryle, and they just pounded the football in and got it in. They got the 35-21 lead, and they held on as Hyde Park scored 2 touchdowns, but they went for 2 to take the lead with 3:02 left. They got confused, didn't get it, and Brook Hill held on to win by 1 point, 35-34, in a thrilling game. And it was worth the trip down. I mean, it was exciting, back and forth game, just a battle. And so Brook Hill gets their first district win, and a big one at that, because they've now played that's kind of the top 3 in the district. So they try to close out the rest of their season and get into those playoffs in one of those top 4 spots. But man, it was a great game, Kyle.
It sounds like it, and it makes that drive, like you said, it makes it all worth it, because it'd be tough to go down there and have to broadcast a blowout, even if it was a Brook Hill blowout. That still would have been tough to go down there. But you got treated to a heck of a ball game, it sounds like. And when you say they got confused, what do you mean they got confused?
They were lined up, and the quarter it was almost like it was a snap to the quarterback, and he kind of didn't know. It almost looked like he didn't know where he was going. Like he kind of stuttered a couple times. By that time, Brook Hill's cannonball defense, as we coined them, they had made their presence known and were able to get into the backfield and took him down. What was surprising about that was, but they had been running the ball, just handing off to the back, running up the middle, and kind of gashing Brook Hill. Because not only when you take Sam Williams out on offense, Kyle, he also plays defense. Not saying that was the only reason, but other guys had to play. Durrett and him kind of switch out. So, and Durrett had just been gassed by playing offense and running the ball a lot. So they went down and scored a couple times and had been successful. Instead of just handing the ball off to the back and letting them go, it looked like they tried to get tricky there on the 2-point, doing something a little strange. And I don't know if they weren't ready or didn't work right. It just looked weird when the play happened, and he got tackled and they didn't get in. So I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I always think if you're the home team, you play for the tie and you continue on. But they took the risk. It didn't work. And
there's 3 minutes left too. I mean, it's not like it was the end of the game. Like, you could have still played defense and got the ball back and went down there and scored.
They did. They played defense and ended up getting the ball back, and they had the ball at the end and just So
but then you can go down there and you don't need. I mean, I don't know. I think I would have taken, like you said, you're the home team. I think I kicked the extra point and play for overtime. But if you're the road team, that you play that differently. Go for 2. You made this long drive down here. Let's go ahead and win and get out of here. Like, I mean, but yeah, it's tough way to lose a game. But a big win for Brook Hill. That's what we're focused on. Big win for the Guard.
It was a great one. So I had 2 games this week, and they were combined 4-point margin. So
not a bad week at the office.
Two pretty good ones.
I don't know. Hold on. Let's see. What's 63 minus 14?
That is 49.
Okay. That was Thursday. And then 75 minus 40 is what, 35? Mm-hmm. So 49 plus 35, whatever that is, that was my combined margin in the 2 games.
Well, KO effect, whichever team you're there for, I guess they liked you.
Lots of good offense. Lots of good offense.
Yeah.
Or lots of bad defense. Which I'm going to say lots of good offense.
One of the 2. Speaking of good offense, Scott Poole with our first 10 of 10 of the season, our leader overall, got the first 10 of the season. That's about how it should work there. As he got 10 out of 10 this week. Hey, look, there's a familiar face that got second. We got a couple of them. Keith Whitman, I think I know that guy. And Kyle Owens, kind of familiar name. 8 out of 10 this week. So
Yeah. Hey,
there.
I gotta give myself a
Look
come
at
on,
there.
man. Look,
Oh,
I
I
threw a
got
couple of Hail Marys,
I got you.
but
Yeah, I think
I
your
really
strategy
picked
was better.
smart.
You didn't just completely throw a Hail Mary. You threw a couple of
Yeah.
strategic ones. That was a better strategy.
Yeah.
I like that. Um,
Yeah, it worked out
yeah,
well. I don't see anybody else from our squad. Oh, there you are, Brett, at the bottom
I
there with
am down
6.
there. I got
Okay.
6. No, it wasn't a terrible week, but just a couple of things. My heart pick didn't go my way. I had a feeling it might not, but I can't pick against my Bulldogs. Sorry, I'm loyal. I'm loyal to
I'm
the
not
end.
that loyal.
So
We'll see later.
yeah, we definitely will. But yeah, it was a good week. Let's take a look at some of these games that we had in here. We had Big Sandy knocking off Elysian Fields. I didn't win this one. I missed this one. Big Sandy, a team that we're going to be covering here a couple times over the next few weeks. So excited to see what they have in person. But that's a big win over Elysian Fields team, which has been really solid this year. That district right now is going to be very interesting.
No, for sure. And this whole district gets this next week off, which I think they need it because they've been beating up on each other, and they've had some battles this week. But Elysian Fields started off this season 4-0, and then took that tough loss to Beckville to open up district play for their second district game. Got a close win over Union Grove, and now this close loss to Big Sandy. They've been in these games this year, a 3-point win over Hawkins, a 3-point win over Queen City. So it's been close games most of the time for Elysian Fields. For Big Sandy, man, I was impressed with this Big Sandy team. Last week when I picked them to beat Beckville, it was a Hail Mary, but it was also it could happen. You know what I mean? And Beckville said, no, not a chance. But I've been impressed with this Big Sandy team. They were down into that Harleton team. I was at that game on a Thursday night. They were down to Harleton at halftime and came back and won that game and didn't let Harleton score in the second half. So I like what Coach Poolham has going on over there at Big Sandy. And all of a sudden, you look at this district that's kind of been tipped on
I'm
its head.
I'm looking at it too, and the game we
Yeah.
didn't have in our pick'em this week, one of the biggest upsets I think of the week, Wascom knocked off Beckville, Kyle, and now they lead the district at 4-0.
Yeah, I thought that was an upset too. But then when you really look at Wascom's schedule, their 2 losses are to Garrison, which by 1 point, and then Shelbyville. And we know how good Shelbyville is. So those are 2 close losses. Maybe this Wascom team's better than we gave them credit for. I think that says more about Wascom than it does Beckville. But yeah, when I saw that Beckville had lost Friday, I was like, wow. But yeah, you look at the district, you got Wascom 4-0, Beckville and Big Sandy are now 3-1. And then Elysian Fields, Hawken, Union Grove, you can just throw a little blanket on top of them. Everybody's 2-2 in that. Those are 6 teams there that are. I mean, I guess you could pretty much pencil Wascom into the playoffs as long as they don't have a complete meltdown. But outside of that, I mean, those 2 through 4 spots, you got 5 teams that are battling for 3 spots.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because man, it's with the 8-team district, man. You've just got. And the thing is, too, you've got Harleton and Oro City could factor in. If they were to pick an upset up over one of those teams above them, it could knock somebody else out. So, I mean, every game, every week is important.
Elysian Fields is already behind the 8 ball, too, because your 2 losses in district are to Beckville and Big Sandy, who are above you in those district standings. So even if you win out, if Beckville and Big Sandy win out, then you're still going to be behind those 2 schools. So it's tough, man. It's a good district.
Well, they did beat Union Grove and Hawkins, which helps them. So
it can get them in, but I mean, if it stays like it is now, then the best they can do is a 4. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where they put themselves behind the 8 ball right here. But I think Wascom is the surprise in this district so far. I mean, again, I think we need to give them more credit. I did not see them being a force in this district like this. I thought it was Beckville's to kind of run away with.
Yeah, it was kind of a surprising one. Honestly, it snuck by me. That game probably should have been in our pick'ems, but I didn't. It kind of snuck by me, and I didn't even realize how good Wascom was doing. And we're sorry, Wascom. We won't disrespect you anymore.
No,
you've got our attention here. That was an impressive win over Beckville. I think I actually have the Big Sandy Wascom game penciled in as one of the games we're trying to get on the network. So
that might be a good one.
could be an interesting game there. Okay, so the next one on here, game 2, the East Texas team got the win over that evil empire of Matt Diggs, and he's not here today, but in honor of him, I'm sorry, evil Darth Vader. Longview got the win this week. But I wish he was on so we could continue to brag on our East Texas team, Kyle. But Longview got an impressive win over Forney.
Yeah, this one actually kind of surprised me too, especially with last year's game when Forney, when Longview beat Forney just 13-7. To go back to Forney this year and really, it wasn't even close. But I mean, the reason it wasn't close is old Boosie again. Kelvin Washington has had a phenomenal past couple of weeks with his rushing ability and his overall athleticism. So good, as a matter of fact. He announced Friday night after the game, some late night news, he is decommitted from Lamar and his recruitment is back open. Funny how that happens after you have 8 touchdowns and then have another big game in district play. So
I wonder if someone made a phone call to that young man and offered him I won't be surprised to see if he has some new commitments here over the next few weeks, or new options to go to, at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. But congratulations to him and congratulations to Longview. I mean, I was hoping that they did this. I was hoping they came out and performed well. And these first 2 games of district play, a 63-34 win over Rockwall and 41-14 over Forney. Those are 2 impressive wins, I think, to go 2-0 in district play. And this week they get Tyler Legacy at home. And I mean, it's a battle of the East Texas schools in a DFW district, I guess, is what's happening in this one. But it's going to be tough for Legacy. I'll just put it that way. It's going to be tough for them. Longview's got their the Lobo trains rolling right now.
Mm-hmm. They've got things back on track after kind of struggling early in the season. Okay, game 3, Mount Enterprise and Grapeland. Grapeland got the win. I think, Kyle, you had Grapeland, I believe, because we were different on this. And man, sorry, Grapeland. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid now. I mean, it's a good win. I think this district now is interesting in these next 2 picks. And we'll go ahead and say that I lost both of these. This is how this district is. I had Overton, and we went down and called that game. Jaron and Josh were down there Friday night, and he told me that, oh yes, and we had the debut of Mr. Owens on the camera for a football game. Hey, did you get to talk to him? How did he like that? I talked to him for a brief minute on their way back, and he acted like he had a good time.
We talked about it all day at lunch today, so he was excited about it. He had a fun. He was telling me. Now listen, he was saying the setup in Love Lady is not ideal. It's not the best. There was a little perch that he had to sit on that was bouncing all the time when people were walking up the stands. So, but shout out to the new camera, because on the broadcast you can't see it bouncing like that because it was stabilizing it. So it wasn't what didn't look bad, but he enjoyed it. He had a good time, and him and Jaron had a good time riding down there together and getting the chit chat. So yeah, he had a blast, and he'll get to do it again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he'll get to ride with me and Jason, and he'll get one of these long trips. So we'll get to have a good time here in a few weeks. But yeah, that district now, we still those 5 teams, but now so Mount Enterprise took their first loss, Kyle, and I mean it's not I mean, they've got a tough schedule coming. They got Tennehaw next, but then they finish with Lovelady, Overton, and Alto. So we're going to really know how good Mount Enterprise. I feel like that it could be Alto and Mount Enterprise in week 11 could be playing for a spot in the playoffs, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean this district is funny. I mean, I did pick Grapeland to win over Mount Enterprise, and that was because I saw Grapeland the week before that against Alto, and I was just impressed with their defense, which then makes you wonder what happened against Overton for them to lose by 5 points to an Overton team, and then for Overton to go out and get beat by 20 to Lovelady.
Well,
yeah, this district is.
Darren said they had Overton had a couple of guys out. And so, that makes the low level of 2A Division II, they don't have a lot of guys. So if it's a couple guys out, that could mean several extra positions too. They probably might play more than one. I don't know exactly who it was, but he talked to a coach and said they had some guys out. So, I mean, and look at Lovelady's no slouch. So you look at their schedule, Kyle. I mean, their losses are to Timpson and Garrison. Those are pretty good teams. So it's not like they've just lost to anybody. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward as they're 2-0 in the district. If they can go down and take care of the rest. They have Grapeland week 11, and that's going to be an interesting game as well. So you could have a couple of games there at the end. Seating may not even be set, or could be a crazy amount of combinations that could take place in that last week.
Yeah, I mean, because you got Mount Enterprise and Alto that last week, Grapeland and Lovelady that final week. I mean, this is going to be it's going to be a dogfight at the end. And with Mount Enterprise, it is kind of, you took one on the chin. And first off, shout out to Grapeland. How about knocking off 2 undefeated teams in back-to-back weeks? To knock off Alto from the ranks of the unbeaten the week before, and then this past week to knock off Mount Enterprise from the ranks of the unbeaten. Coach Wood, I really like that Grapeland Sandy team down there too. But I think Lovelady Grapeland, when they play at the end of the year, it could potentially be for that district title. But with as topsy-turvy as this district is, I mean, Alto barely beat Tenaha last night or Friday night. Like, they won by 2 points over Tenaha, which I thought Alto would have kind of went out there and taken care of business against Tenaha, who's been struggling this year. So it's a wild, wild district. I did have Overton to beat Lovelady, but again, Lovelady is kind of like Wascom. We weren't giving them the credit they deserved. I don't think we gave Lovelady the credit they did. Sorry, Lovelady. I apologize.
We apologize, Lovelady. You're now back in. You're now back on our radar there, as they're in control of the district right now. All right, game 5, maybe the game of the night on NETSN Friday night. There was a lot of good ones. I mean, we had a 1-point game in Brook Hill, which that was an awesome game. We had the Overton and Lovelady game, which was kind of lopsided, but it was a good, solid contest. But the Garrison Shelbyville, another 1-point game, as Shelbyville knocks off Garrison by 1 point at home. Man, what a game, Kyle.
Yeah, this Garrison team, I feel sorry for their fans. We need to reach out to the Garrison fans and get them some heart medication, because this is the third 1-point game that they've had this year. Back-to-back weeks, in week 1 and 2, they beat Wascom by a point, then beat Art by a point. Now against Shelbyville, you lose by a point. Like, this Garrison team is battle tested, man, and this it's kind of surprising. It's surprising, and then it's not. I mean, it's surprising because Garrison and Timpson have kind of ran this district the past few years, but it's not surprising because we've seen the Shelbyville team this year, and they're impressive. This Shelbyville team is very, very good, and DJ Barnes is a beast, and they have a ton of weapons on the outside. They're physical up front too. Like, this Shelbyville team, I think after this win, I think Shelbyville is my favorite to win this district. I mean, I don't know who's looking at the district. I don't know who else. I don't know who else could beat them. I mean, I think Garrison's the number 2 team in this district, and Shelbyville just knocked them off. So I think unless Shelbyville slips up along the way, I think it's theirs.
Yeah, and Shelbyville goes to Timpson next week. So that'll be interesting.
I'm just not sold on Timpson right now. I'm just not. I don't. They shout out to Terry Bussey getting his jersey retired last Friday night at Timpson. How many people do you know get their high school jersey retired 1 year after they leave the school? I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Not many. I'm sure that was probably already kind of retired before the season. They probably had nobody wearing it anyway. So
no, I'm sure.
But not. I mean, this is interesting. I think we kind of thought going into the season, at least I did. I thought it was Timpson and Garrison that game was going to be for the district title, but Shelbyville's kind of snuck up on us. And from someone that's seen them in person, I mean, DJ Barnes just has that it. Like, he knows when to throw, when to run, and he's not one of those guys that's just going to take it. He's an athletic guy, but he's not just going to duck it and run every time and get creamed. Like, he would rather more times than not, he would scramble with his legs and give his teammates time to get open and then make that pass on a dime. I mean, it was impressive. I got to see him when they came to Carlisle a few weeks ago, and I actually my poll. I think they got a vote this week. I'm just going to say that in my poll.
Okay.
I was impressed with. That's a big win. I know Garrison's a good team, and to knock them off. I'm impressed by that. I think this
Well,
district is up in flux. I mean, you've got. I mean, I think Garrison and Shelbyville up top, but then you've got Timpson's still got San Augustine and Joaquin down there as
let's
well.
not sleep on Joaquin. That's what I was
Yeah,
about to say. Because
yeah,
Joaquin just beat San Augustine convincingly, but you look at their 2 losses to a Grand Saline team who they're pretty good, and
yeah.
then 4-point loss to Beckville. Like, I think again, Joaquin, and this is the beauty of the football season, is the later the season goes, that's when these contenders start to separate themselves from the pretenders, and this is when we start keeping an eye on teams that we maybe didn't have an eye on to begin with. And Joaquin is another one of those teams. Like, yes, I think Shelbyville and Garrison are still 1 and 2, but what if Joaquin upsets Shelbyville on Halloween night when those 2 teams play? Or what if
Hey,
Joaquin beats Garrison?
on Halloween night, you know where you can find that game?
Would it be right here on this channel, NetSN?
It is on NETSN. That will be a Piney Woods Game of the Week game that Larry will have there.
Could be for a district title, truthfully. I mean, depending on what Joaquin does against Garrison, they got to play. Well, actually, Joaquin plays Garrison after Shelbyville. So Joaquin ends their season with Shelbyville and Garrison. So
well, they end it with the big 3: Timpson, Shelbyville, Garrison. That's
yeah.
so
We'll see. We'll see about Joaquin. We'll see. But I do think it's an impressive win that they got over San Augustine to be able to beat them like they did. I mean, all their wins have been blowouts. Over Frankston, Tenaha, Corrigan, Camden, and San Augustine, they've all been blowouts.
Man, this district is tough. And then, of course, the next game was the same district game. I did have Joaquin in this one to get the win over San Augustine, so I did win this game 6 on our pick'em here. Kyle, did you have Joaquin as well?
I did.
Okay, no surprise there. I think San Augustine. I mean, they're still sitting right there. They could be a team that could affect the district by upsetting somebody and sticking around. But I think to me, I ranked the team Shelbyville, Garrison, and then I ranked Timpson and Joaquin together right there. And then I think that whoever wins that game will be 3, the other one will be 4. And I think San Augustine is right there on the edge at 5th. Unfortunately for Hemp Hill, I think they're just in a tough spot here. This is just a killer of a district for this size.
I think that you're right with those top 4 teams. The only caveat I'd throw in there is if San Augustine can upset one of them.
Yeah.
If San Augustine can get an upset, then I think they'll pop in and be that 4th team. But yeah, I mean, I think Joaquin Timpson is for 3 and 4 in that district.
All right. Next up, there's a Dangerfield.
I missed this one big time.
Queen City. You had Queen City, Kyle?
I did. This was one of my Hail Marys.
Oh well. How'd that Hail Mary go for you, Kyle?
Not great. Like Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl, that when you slipped coming out of the pocket and it fluttered. It didn't go very well. Well, I mean, listen, I still don't think Dangerfield is back. I don't think that's what this means at all. I think that Queen City showed why they were 0-6 and now why they're 0-7. I mean, Queen City's been in some close ball games. That's what I talked about last week. They've played some teams close. Not this one though. This one was not close.
Well,
well.
Thankfully, there was 2 other people that picked Queen City with you, Kyle. You weren't the only one that was thinking that way, so it's okay.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I wasn't alone on that bus.
Well, you could have been on the bus going home from the New Diana West Russ game as a West Russ player and been embarrassed as the poor Raiders lost 75-7 or 72-7.
72. Let's not be disrespectful, Brett. It was 72. All right. 70. Only Grand Saline scored 75.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I got that confused. 72-7, Kyle. Ouch! What a statement by New Diana. I think if we didn't think if anybody had any doubts that New Diana was for real, I already knew. But if anybody had any doubts, I think this was a statement game. As you knock off West Rusk by that margin, that's just, oh man, what a statement.
I mean, this New Diana team, I'm not sold on West Rusk this year, and I've told you that. I mean, I understand 3 of their 4 losses, one of them was to Malakoff, which, okay, everybody's losing to Malakoff these days. And then a loss to Gladewater, a loss to Tatum, and then this big loss to New Diana. But their wins, I mean, over Diboll, Elkhart, and Winona. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we talked about. But so I don't know. And it's not to take anything away from New Diana. Like, and that's what I was telling. I was talking to somebody when we were talking about the Grand Saline game and how they put up points. I was like, but it doesn't matter. For instance, when New Diana played Winona, they won 65-0. But everybody's doing that to Winona. You know what I mean? But it's still something to look back at and say, oh, well, they still put up. You still have to score that many times. Like, you still gotta go out there and play the game. So I'm impressed with New Diana, man. They're 6-0 and they are putting up a ton of points every week, and really haven't been tested at all this year. That's my only question about New Diana is what happens in a close game, because you're not going to blow out everybody. When you get into the playoffs, you're not going to blow out all these people. So what happens when you get into a close game? Are you battle tested? Can you win a close one instead of winning a blowout? And I think we may get an idea of that this Friday night when they head to Troop. I think that'll be a good matchup and a good test to see. But yeah, this New Diana team is rocking and rolling.
Speaking of rocking and rolling, Kyle, the Carthage Bulldogs were rocking and rolling on Friday night as they just ran through center. And just, I mean, I thought the game kind of went what I thought it was going to do. Early, center was in the game, and then Carthage just stepped on the gas and just, they had another gear that we talked about, the levels. They had that other gear, and center just couldn't keep up as a 59-21 win for Carthage. And I don't think it says anything negative about center. I think it's just more of Carthage is just that good. I think center's still going to be a good team. I think they're going to compete. I think them and Athens in this district will probably be kind of fighting it out for that 2 and 3 seed. It just says Carthage is just they're in gear now and they're on a roll. Like that first week opened them. I think that may have been the best thing that could have happened to them is losing that first week to Kilgore, because it's like they are ticked off now and they are just going to run through this district. They're going to be lucky to get their guys in they'll probably play their starters a half and get a half off every week, and get some other guys in. But I mean, shout out to center. I mean, they kept the game there at the first. We had that game on NETSN, but you could just tell. I mean, it's just Carthage, and they're just the head above everybody else.
Carthage is Carthage. Pat McAfee says it every Monday about the Chiefs. The Chiefs is the Chiefs. Well, Carthage is Carthage. Like, when you look at their scores after that first week loss, like you said, maybe the best thing that happened to them, 58-20 over Liberty Islo, 45-14 over Chapel Hill. Sorry, Brett. 58-14 over Jasper, 56-0 over San Benito. Then let's open up district play with a 59-21 win over probably the second best team in the district. Like, this Carthage team is insane. And I'm with you. Maybe Athens gives them a little pushback, but outside of that, I don't see them struggling the rest of this district or the rest of the season. I mean, that's the only negative, is that they're so good that at this point you're now just kind of working on things, getting ready for the playoffs. They essentially have 4 weeks to get ready for the playoffs.
Trying to stay healthy too.
Yeah, like and that's not a shot at any of these other. That's not a shot at Athens, Bullard, Rusk, or any of these other teams, or Brownsboro. It's just Carthage is Carthage. Like, Carthage is that good, where right now they are rolling, where they almost kind of like a burnt orange team on Saturday, how they were rolling against OU, kind of how this Carthage team is. It's almost like they can't do anything wrong.
Well, the first quarter was a little rough in that game on Saturday. We had a couple of,
after the first quarter.
It could have been a lot worse. Let's just say that. Like, man, some rust coming back there for viewers, but
Hey, real quick before we move on, I got to get a prediction from you. What happened Saturday against Georgia? Give me a score.
More of the same, I think. I think Georgia may give them a little more competition than OU, but I don't think it's going to be. I think they win by 3 scores against Georgia.
Really?
I really do. I think they're on another level. I don't think there's anybody it's at home. That place is going to be rocking.
3 scores over Georgia?
Yeah. I just think so. I like the defense right now. Like Texas's defense, and you talk all about the offense that you want, how good it is, and how we have weapons. Just you have like 9 or 10 guys on the receiving core that can come in and make catches and make plays. The offensive line is just, I mean, they're just like a brick wall there. They protect the QB, they're opening lanes, but the defense, man, you got Hill Jr., you got Muhammad, and those guys, I mean, they haven't allowed a first quarter touchdown all season. I mean, they're in rhythm right now. I think that's what helped them yesterday or Saturday, is the fact that they kept as when the offense was struggling and not producing, the defense wasn't allowing anything. Like it was just stop. Like OU had nothing for them, and I'm not saying OU's the greatest team. They're not, but I just feel like right now they just gave Ewers another week to get the rust off, and so I feel like he's mad at himself. You could tell in the interview he didn't know he didn't play a good game because there was points left on that board. It could have been, 21, 28 nothing after the first quarter. I just think they're on a level. I think that for them to lose to a team, they're going to have to shoot themselves in the foot. They're so deep. You could have some injuries and that could happen, but they're so deep. I heard Sark say it's the deepest, most talented team that he's ever had.
They are a great team. I'm not denying that, but up until this year, when Georgia lost to Alabama, Georgia hadn't lost a regular season game in like 7 years. So, like, I understand Texas is phenomenal. Let's also not forget OU had a true freshman quarterback out there that looked like a deer in headlights. He couldn't throw it down the field. Carson Beck is not Hawkins. And that's not trying to take a shot at Hawkins, but like he's a true freshman. That's his first time in that environment. Carson Beck has been here, done that. Just had a battle. I mean, they've been in close games this year. So I just think 3 touchdowns is a little.
Hey, and I am a Longhorn, so it's normally I wouldn't feel this. Like I just feel like this team is just so much better than every other team in the nation right now. Like they're kind of like the Carthage. You just kind of ran through them. They're like the Carthage right now of college football. I mean, these teams are beating up on each other. And if they come out and they don't win, I will be really surprised. I really will. I just feel like that they're that.
I think they'll win. I just don't think it'll be about 3 touchdowns. I think it'll be probably a 10-point game or something similar to that. I think it'll be a lot closer than 3 touchdowns. But I do think Texas wins. I think Texas is the best team.
Well, I said 3-score game. So I mean, I didn't say 21. It could be 3 scores is, anywhere from that, more
18.
than yeah. So if it was in Georgia, then I think it would be closer. I just think it's at home. It's obviously their home field advantage now. It's changed a lot. Like Texas home field advantage is now one of the biggest home field advantages in college football. I don't know if you've watched any of their home games, but like the lights show, it's gonna be at night. It's gonna be the nightcap next Saturday night. So the lights.
Oh, it's gonna be rocking. It's gonna be rocking.
It's gonna be like, and so if they get going, watch out. If they get going early and that crowd gets into it, watch out. I'm not saying the SEC doesn't have some other, challenges to go playing, but that's DK Memorial Stadium is it's a tough one, man. So
okay, well, let's talk about another one of your teams that didn't do so hot this Friday.
I was fine with talking about this.
No, let's come back to high school.
Well, let's come back to earth here. It's the Kilgore Bulldogs. They just donkey stomped my Chapel Hill Bulldogs on Friday night. Just play it like it is. No, Chapel Hill did not score a touchdown on offense. Their only score was a defensive score. I don't know the last time that Chapel Hill was held without an offensive touchdown. That would be probably a long time ago. It's been a while. They've got to figure some things out. They've got to get Malik Gee involved there. He's now the guy for the remainder of the season, at least the regular season. And so they've got to figure some things out, because now, I mean, you start looking down the schedule, Kyle, they still got Pine Tree and Henderson left on the schedule. And they have beaten Lindale. It could be some kind of funky tiebreakers going on. Never know. Lindale could knock off somebody above them. They've got a game this week that would help them out if they could win it. But this district now is interesting. So I think you've got Kilgore. Even though they've lost one game, I still think they're the best team. But we'll see. Henderson's got some challenges. If Henderson plays and they play up to the level they play against Kilgore, this could throw a real wrench into some of these games coming down the stretch.
Dude, this district is.
I know.
Let me ask you this. I know it's possible, but could Chapel Hill miss the playoffs?
I mean, it's definitely possible.
Well, I mean, because if you look at it, I think they beat Maybank, and I think they beat Maybank and go to 3-1. So let's assume Henderson beats Pine Tree, so they go to 4-0. And then let's assume Kilgore beats Lindale. So Henderson's 4-0, Kilgore 3-1, Chapel Hill 3-1, Lindale 1-2, and then Pine Tree 2-1 or 1-2. But then if Chapel Hill falls to Pine Tree, that'd put them at 2-2. And then if Chapel Hill falls to
Pine Tree has Henderson, so they would be
right.
So
listen,
them,
I think Chapel Hill's safe then. If they beat Maybank, Chapel Hill should be safe no matter what, because they own the tiebreaker over Lindale. And if Pine Tree loses to Henderson, and
this could be crazy interesting,
because Lindale and Henderson play at the end of the year. So if Lindale for some reason upsets Henderson in that final game, oh my gosh, yeah, I don't think it'll happen. And even now talking it out, I don't think it'll happen. But I mean, Chapel Hill is for everything that happened last year, for the run that Chapel Hill made to get to that state championship game, for how that game ended, with all the hopes and expectations coming into this season, everything that was talked about in the offseason, and to come out like world beaters and knock off Jasper, and then have to come back and win a close one against Gilmer, then win a nail-biter against White House. Then that's when Brisbane gets hurt. Well, then then Carthage blows out Chapel Hill, but that's Carthage. But then Brisbane's back, and you beat Lindale 42-30. Lindale nearly comes back in that game, so it's not like it was without blemishes there either. And then you got Palestine, a 28-0 win, which
it was 7-0.
Probably should have been more. Right, probably should have been more. And then to get blown out at home by Kilgore, who's been one of your big rivals these past few seasons, and to not score an offensive touchdown, I think there's trouble in Chapel Hill. I think it's DEFCON 5. I think start sounding the alarm.
The only good news is they go to Maybank this week.
Well, is it? Maybank played Henderson tight. Now, and I think Henderson fell into one of those classic Corey Marshall trap games. I think it was a classic trap. You beat a big team the week before and overlook your opponent. No disrespect to Maybank. But, listen, they struggled with Palestine, okay? I think Maybank's better than Palestine. So if you struggled with Palestine, odds say you may struggle with Maybank too. I think they're going to have to depend on their defense against Maybank. Defense is going to have to get some points, maybe a special teams touchdown somehow. I mean, I'm concerned for Chapel Hill. I'm concerned for them.
Trevor Brooks is going to need to have a good game on both sides of the ball. He's been big for them, having to do a lot right now, and so he's going to need to do something special there. But this district, Kyle, is it's a big mess, that's for sure. And good news is it's all going to play out. We'll figure out how it's going to play out here over the next several weeks. Looking at the overall leaderboard, Scott Poole is now up by 6 in the pick'ems. So he's trying to run away with this. Russ Miller in second, and Michael Davis in third. Let's see. I'm down there somewhere. Where am I at? Oh, there I am. I'm in 12th. I'm in 12th.
I'm only 2 points behind the first page, so that's my goal now, is just to make it to the first page.
Okay. Well, your goal should be to get ahead of Corey Marshall.
Well, that too. That would involve getting on the first page, though. One step at a time.
Corey's down there on the bottom. He's at
I'm coming for you, Brett. I'm only 4 behind you. I'm coming for you.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'm up for the challenge. Right now, Corey is the closest NETSN person to me at this point. So, all right, let's talk about these polls, Kyle. It was some interesting games last week, so I'm interested to see kind of how it shook out and how everybody in our poll group voted this week. All right, so 6A, 5A for me, I kept the same top 4: Texas Side, Longview, Lufkin, Marshall, and I'm seeing the light now. I moved Tyler High up to 5. That was my 5th place vote. What did you have?
I didn't change a thing. Kept the same 5 that I had last week, which is the same one that everybody: Texas High, Longview, Lufkin, Marshall, Tyler High.
All right. Well, that's how the final poll got it. So we have the exact same thing as the actual poll tabulated out.
This is the easiest poll to do.
Yeah, it is, until somebody does something. I mean, I guess we'll have to see how it turns out with if Marshall can they continue to win. Longview has a game against Tyler Legacy this week. We think they'll win that handily, but it's a kind of a rivalry game, in that district of that. Diggs has said anything can happen in this district. Anybody can beat anybody almost. So we'll see.
Well, now that I just saw that, I probably should have dropped Marshall a spot. I forgot they lost to Texas High by a point. I understand it was by a point, but
yeah, I'm not going to punish him for losing to the best team in the poll. I mean, who else are you going to put?
I'm not dropping them out. I'm just saying.
Oh, you just bring them down.
To me, I would have moved Tyler High to 4th and dropped Marshall to 5th because Marshall lost.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. I'm definitely not taking them out. No, definitely not that.
Okay. All right. So here's my rankings for the 4A. I've got Carthage at 1, Gilmer up to 2, Kilgore up to 3, Pine Tree up to 4, Chapel Hill is now at 5, Van at 6, Henderson 7, Center 8, Pleasant Grove 9, and Canton, I gave them a vote into the top 10 as they are still undefeated at 10.
Yeah, mine's very similar. I think I got all the same teams in there, just in a little different order. I got Carthage at 1. I moved Kilgore up to 2, moved Henderson up to 3, Pine Tree up to 4. I dropped Chapel Hill from 2 to 5. I dropped Center from 3 to 6. Kept Van at 7, Gilmer at 8. They'll figure it out this week. Pleasant Grove, I moved up from 10th to 9th. I dropped Sulphur, I think, out, and I moved Canton into my 10th spot as well because they are undefeated.
Okay. So our difference on teams is Gilmer. I have Gilmer at 2. Yeah. You have them at 8.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit difference there.
Well, they do have some losses.
They do, but so does Kilgore and Carthage, and they've all beat each other. And I don't know. I think these teams. I think Henderson. I'm not completely sold on Henderson yet. I know they have a big win. I moved them into the poll, but I want to see them play against Chapel Hill and Pine Tree and some of those. And then if they start winning some of those games, then I'll move them up as they start winning. I just think that I see a Kilgore team that maybe they overlooked Henderson. They kind of didn't come to play the first half. Maybe Henderson I would say they got lucky because I think they're a good team this year. But I want to see them play against another good team and see if they able to do the same thing. If they continue to win, they'll move up. So I think, and of course, Gilmer and Van, that one will figure itself out too. We have them kind of, you have Van high.
They play this week. Week, so they'll figure that out this week.
Spoiler alert, that might be a pick'em game. Okay. All right. So the tabulated poll of everyone here, we've got Carthage 1, Kilgore 2, Henderson 3, Pine Tree 4, Chapel Hill 5, tied with Gilmer at 5. Center at 7, Van 8, Canton 9, and Pleasant Grove 10. Wow, Canton at 9 for the overall poll. Somebody must have them
Canton jumped
higher.
to Pleasant Grove. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting there. Okay.
I think Pleasant Grove wins if Pleasant Grove and Canton play each other. I'm just going to say that.
I do too. Hey, Canton and Van right next to each other. I bet they don't like that.
Probably not.
We may need to separate them in the poll. They're too close together.
They'll get separated this week.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
One
All
way
right.
or the
All right, here we go. Our most interesting poll, I think, of the ones we've got is the 3A, 2A TAPS poll. All right, so did have some movement for me this week. As Malakoff is now 1, Palestine Westwood 2, Jefferson 3, New Diana 4, Liberty Islo 5, Winsboro 6. Beckville drops down from 4 to 7 for me. Shelbyville enters the poll. I have them at 8. I have Grand Saline at 9 still, and I have Lovelady enter the poll at 10. What do you think, Kyle?
I don't hate that. I got a few different teams in there, though. My top 4 stayed the same: Malakoff, Westwood, New Diana, Jefferson. I did move Winsboro up to 5th from 6th. I moved Grand Saline from 7th to 6th. I moved Troop from 8th to 7th. I moved Tatum from 9th to 8th. Grapeland 10th to 9th. And I dropped Beckville from 5 to 10. I almost dropped them out of the poll because technically they lost to an unranked team. And there are plenty of teams in that classification that could also deserve to be in, like a Shelbyville or a team like that. So, yeah, I don't have them on there.
No respect for Liberty Islo, man.
Well, it's those Texarkana schools. I can't. I commit to T-High because we don't have that many 5A teams. But for the other polls, I try to keep it more East Texas centric than all the way up there in Texarkana. So
Pleasant Grove.
I put Pleasant Grove in there again because they've been, I don't know why I don't put Liberty Islo.
I'm just playing devil's advocate with you. I'm just giving you.
No, I understand. I don't know why I don't put Liberty Islo in there, and they don't move up in the polls because I don't have them in there at all. So that's on me. That's nothing against Liberty Islo. I just honestly I forget to put them in.
What rank do you have Henderson in your 4A poll, Kyle?
I have to go back and look. In my 4A, are you gonna say because Liberty Islo beat them?
Yeah, just saying.
I understand. I just told you.
Their only loss is to Carthage.
I forget about them. I just told you. I forget about them. It's not disrespect to them. I just forget about them.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have Henderson at 3 in my 4A poll.
So they beat them. They also beat Tatum, and that you have Tatum ranked.
Okay. Yep. I told you I forget about Liberty Islo. I don't know what you want me to say.
Just messing with you, Kyle. I'm giving you
I don't know what else to say.
I'm giving you our time. Let's see how it shakes out. We got other voters, though. We'll see. Let's see how it goes. Okay. So we got Malakoff 1, or Westwood. I'm gonna get that. They're gonna get where they're just Westwood. They're playing so well. They don't need the Palestine on front. New Diana at 3, Jefferson 4, Winsboro 5, Liberty Islo at 6, Grand Saline 7, Beckville 8, Shelbyville 9, and Tatum 9. They're tied together. What do you think about that?
I don't hate it. I'll remember next week to put Liberty Islo in my poll. It will look different. I will put the Leopards in. I'm sorry for the disrespect, Leopards.
It's okay.
Texarkana deserves love too.
Yeah, there you go. If Eddie was watching, he would be all on your case, Cal.
Where is he? He's been a no-show all year. Where is Eddie Hackerman at?
He must be all on the Oklahoma State man. His son's graduated now. He went to Oklahoma State, so maybe he's just moved to Oklahoma. I don't know.
Well, we can still be watched in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I know. We need to call him out. Tell him where you at, Eddie? Where you been?
We just did.
All right.
Somebody get this to Eddie.
All right, Eddie. We have called him out. All right. So that's our polls for the week. Let's pick some games, Cal.
Let's do it.
All right. Have you looked at them yet?
I've looked at the first 4. I've
Okay.
not looked past the first 4 yet.
All right. Some pretty good games this week. Got a couple of rivalries that I'm gonna have to do some research on, but we got
Yeah, that second one I'm not familiar with at all. So
I had to put that in there though. That's a big time. That's like the Brook Hill Grace. That's the Gorman and All Saints rivalry there on the second one there.
okay.
Should be a good little rivalry game. Okay, so plus it makes everybody have to do the research. Gotta keep people on their toes.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, so the first one we got is a game we'll have on NETSN. We will be traveling to Tatum Friday night. Jaron, we'll have a full crew. We got Jaron and Josh and myself will be on the call there, and then Rob will be on camera. As it's the only game that I see on the schedule Thursday night, as Gladewater comes to town to take on Tatum. Now, Kyle, you have Tatum in your poll. Gladewater's been kind of an up and down team. Tatum, they won week 1. They beat Winsboro with that shortened game, and they beat Dangerfield. They lost to Newton, and they lost to Liberty Islo. Other than that, Tatum has not lost. It's at Tatum. I think Gladewater's been pretty good. They beat Dangerfield as well. But they haven't really impressed me with any other game. They play close to Liberty Islo, but I'm going to go with Tatum in this game. I think they've got the athletes. They've got Bradley at quarterback, and what he does for them offensively. And I think it's at home at Tatum. Tough place to play. And that's who I'm going to be picking this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Tatum Eagles as well. I'm just not sold on Gladewater. I don't think they've been that impressive this season, if I'm being completely honest. So I'm not sold on them. That close loss to Liberty Islo is interesting. I say close; it was 14 points, but 15 points. Interesting, but when you look at their losses, they lost to New Diana, who's undefeated, Jefferson, who's undefeated. The Spring Hill loss, Spring Hill's one win is over Gladewater, so that's an interesting one as well. And then Liberty Islo only has one loss on the year too. So, yeah, Gladewater's played a tough little schedule, but I'm going to take the Tatum Eagles in this one.
All right. Next up, we've got the Tyler TK Gorman Crusaders against the Tyler All Saints Trojans, and a TAPS game now that's a district game. The TAPS teams kind of got separated, all the COVID numbers. I don't know if you know about this, Colin. I didn't know this, but TAPS does their numbers over the average of the last 3 years, not what it's actually at. So when the COVID numbers, when some of those schools had less kids, kind of changed up the classifications. That's why Brook Hill had dropped to the 4A TAPS for a couple of years, and now they're back up to 5. I found that out. Shout out to Coach Hubbard. He told me that information. So now they've kind of separated and put them back together. So now Grace and Brook Hill are together, and Gorman and All Saints are together. So now this is a district game. Because last year All Saints was actually in the same district as Brook Hill, which they didn't compete in district. I think they played independent. But they're now in the same district. And man, this is going to be a tough game for me. This game is at home for Gorman. And so I'm going to go with the home team, the TK Gorman Crusaders, to win this one.
Give me Bishop Gorman. And the only reason I'm taking them is because, 1, they are at home, and 2, on Saturday, I wrote up a story about a former Bishop Gorman receiver that scored twice in a game over the weekend, Dozie Afidi. So go Crusaders.
Okay. Next game on our pick'ems is an important district game. The Love Lady squad is going to travel to Alto. The Leopards will take on the Alto Yellow Jackets in Alto. Man, I think Love Lady right now is rolling, and Alto is, I want to say they're in trouble, but they've got to come up with some wins, and they've got a tough schedule ahead of them. I don't think it's going to be this one. I think Love Lady will take care of business and get the win over Alto.
Yeah, I think I am with you there. I think Lovelady is playing some good football right now. Their 2 losses are to 2 good teams, and Alto, the one that throws me off with Alto is that 2-point win over Tenaha last week. I understand it was a win, but 2 points to a Tenaha team that's struggling this year. So I'm going to take the Lovelady Lions. They're rolling right now.
All right. Next up on here is a big district matchup of 4A Division II District 7 between the Van Vandals and the Gilmer Buckeyes. That game will be played in Gilmer. Looking at district play, both teams are off to a 1-0 start. This is a district that's kind of the top 3 are a little separated from the rest. You've got Gilmer, Pleasant Grove, and Van kind of in a 3-way battle for those top 3 spots. And then you've got the rest of the teams in the district have a combined wins of 2 total. So there'll be some interesting battles for those bottom spot there, the 4th spot. For me, man, I like what Van's doing, but the game's in Gilmer. Gilmer has been really battle tested. If you look at their schedule, who they've played Pine Tree, they've played Chapel Hill, they've played Kilgore, they've played Lindale. You look at Van, they have played a couple of those teams. They played Pine Tree and Lindale, but Brownsboro, Spring Hill. I don't know how good Dallas Carter is, but they're not. This isn't the round ball, so Carter's not. That's not their sport, really. They're not super powerhouse in football. And so I think I'm going to go. It's at home, so I'm going to give the advantage to Gilmer. So I'm going to go with the Buckeyes to get the win over the Vandals.
Yeah, I agree. Gilmer has played a tough schedule. They've played definitely a tougher schedule than Van has, I think. But Van has been impressive. I got to see Van against Pine Tree. They were impressive then. Got a tough win over Lindale. Then beat a Sunnyvale squad. Had to go to Brownsboro, which I know Brownsboro's down, but Van and Brownsboro's a rivalry game, so they got a big win there. And then kicked off the district season with a win over Spring Hill. Man, everything is telling me to take Coach Alan Metzel and the Gilmer Buckeyes. That's what everything's telling me. But there is something, and I'm a Lindalian, so this is weird, but there's something that's dragging me towards this Van Vandal side. So, for an upset, I'm taking the Van Vandals to upset the Gilmer Buckeyes at Jeff Traylor Stadium this Friday night.
Ooh, okay. You heard it first. Upset special. Not a bad
and which
upset.
Really, Van's 5-1, Gilmer's 4-2. So is it really an upset?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. If you're going to take an upset pick, this is one that's one of those games that could go either way. So I don't hate it. I think that's a good. If you're going to go with one, I think that's one to go with. Game 5. This is an interesting one because if you look at this, you're like, Dangerfield's struggling. They're on the struggle bus this year. They've had a tough one, but they played a tough schedule, and now they're in district play. It's gotten a lot easier on the schedule. They lose to the Cab last week, but this Hooks team has a 2-0 district mark, and Dangerfield has a 2-1 district mark. So this is an important game for that next. But you look at Dangerfield's schedule, Kyle. Gladewater, we think they're an okay team. They lost to them. Tatum's a good team. They lost to them. Pleasant Grove, they're pretty good. They lost to them. Center, not a bad team. They lost to them. So the teams on that first 4 games, they weren't all great. They were 3 out of 4 were really good. And Gladewater's, solid this year. I don't think they're better than they have been.
But here's my point to that. 3 of those 4 wins they weren't even competitive in. And I understand they're good teams, but the only one they were competitive in those first 4 was the Gladewater loss.
You're right. But they're playing Hooks team. Let me show you who Hooks. You know how Harmony has struggled. Hooks only beat Harmony 40-20. Okay. They lost to Atlanta, which is interesting. They only lost by 7. They also lost to Winsboro, which is another good, but they only beat Queen City by 1. And that's like,
yeah, that's the one that has me hung up too.
You have Hughes Springs at a big win over Hughes Springs, but that's not a good win. So it's in Dangerfield. I'm going to take the Dangerfield Tigers to get the win here. I think that Dangerfield has challenged himself enough where they can still compete in district. I don't think theirs will be possibly as a big a threat going forward in the playoffs, But in this district, I think they're right there in the top two. I think they're going to get the win over Hooks this week. And kind of a rivalry game up that Northeast Texas, that real far Northeast Texas area.
You said it. I mean, that Hooks win over Queen City by 1 point, that was one of Queen City's close losses that I was raving about. And that concerns me. My only question would be, Hooks and Queen City played on September 27th. Dangerfield just played them last week. Did Queen City get some injuries that hurt that Queen City team and made that Dangerfield game look worse than it really probably should have been? That's my only devil's advocate I'm trying to play for Hooks here to try and give them something. But yeah, I mean, you talked about it with Dangerfield's schedule. My only thing is they weren't competitive in 3 of those 4 losses at the start of the year. And that's kind of hangs me up too. But they seem to be playing better football as of late. A big win over Redwater, a close loss to a DCAB team that's 6-1 on the year. So it's not like they're a bad team. And then to blow out Queen City on the road, I just can't see Dangerfield falling off like that. So I'm going to take the Tigers over Hooks this week.
All right. Next up on the schedule here, we've got the Shelbyville Dragons will be traveling to Timpson to take on the Timpson Bears. Man, this is interesting because of the fact that if you were to tell me about this game preseason, I would have had a different pick here. But I've seen both teams. I've seen a little bit as Timpson. We had the Timpson game against Wolf City on the network, so I got to see a little bit of what Timpson looks like. You've seen them and the troubles they've had on defense. Timpson, they beat Hemphill last week, but they gave up 22 to Hemphill. Like a Hemphill team that's 1-5. And, I think that's they won a game against a team from Louisiana. But other than that, that's one of the most high-scoring games they've had all year. They had one other game that was against Pineland West Sabine. They scored 26. The defense concerns me because if you can't tackle, DJ Barnes is going to light you up on fire. So I'm going with the Shelbyville Dragons to go on the road and get the win against the defending state champions, the Timpson Bears.
Yeah, I'm with you. Had you told me about this game at the start of the year and just said on paper, pick what games Timpson will win, this would have been a win over Shelbyville. Did not expect what we've seen from the Shelbyville team this year, but shout out to them. Kudos to them. They're doing fantastic. Coach Wallace has them playing really well. And yeah, you said it. I saw this Timpson team against Westwood, and they couldn't tackle. Could not. And that's something that Coach Gandy has been talking about all season long. That's been plaguing this Timpson team is tackling. And so now you get DJ Barnes and all those athletes from Shelbyville coming into town, and you're going to have to try and tackle big DJ Barnes. Now, I don't know if JJ Garner comes back this week. I can't remember if this is week 3 or if his 3 weeks is already up from that surgery where he can return. If they get JJ back, that'll help. But then if he does play, how healthy is he? You know what I mean? And how much of a help is he really? So with all that being said, I think this Shelbyville team, like we talked about earlier when we were going over games, I think them and Garrison are 1-2 in this district. And so for that to be true, I'm going to have to pick Shelbyville to win this one.
All right. Game 7. Probably the best 2 teams in this district. You have the New Diana Eagles and the Troop Tigers. Again, will be in Troop. Both teams coming in at 2-2 are actually Troop's got 3-0 because they played an extra game in district, but both teams undefeated in district play. West Rusk is right now in that 3rd spot, but we saw what New Diana did to them last week. So I think these are overall your top 2 teams. Troop, they played a pretty tough schedule. They've lost to a Shelbyville team that we've seen and been impressed with. And they lost to Edgewood first 2 games of the year. Then since then, they've won 5 straight. And so I think Troop's on a roll, but I think that roll gets knocked off track this week as New Diana is they're just so impressive. I mean, they're putting up points like left and right. And of course, you look at this schedule and you think, well, they only put up 32 against Sabine. That was 1/2. That was the game that Sparks got knocked out. So you double that, and they're probably averaging 60 points a game here. I mean, you talked about how many Grand Slam is putting up over there. This is kind of like the grand sling of this particular district. They're rolling through folks. They're putting up points. I think the train continues to roll right through Troop, Texas, and I'm going to take New Diana to get the win over Troop.
Well, it seems like a great time to announce that the Red Zone game of the week this week will be the Troop Tigers hosting the New Diana Eagles. So I will be in Troop Friday night, home of intern Claire, for the Troop and New Diana game. Looking forward to it. It should be a fantastic one. And you're right. I mean, New Diana, out of 4 of their 6 games, they put up over 60 points. Like that is, in one of those, they were 4 away from putting up 60. And in the other one, like you said, they played one half and scored 32. So odds are they probably would have put up 60 in that one too. I mean, this offense is phenomenal. Coach Pitts has the Eagles flying high over in New Diana. Troop, I mentioned it earlier. I think Troop is going to be the toughest test for New Diana this season until they reach the playoffs. I think this will be the toughest opponent. And even looking back at their schedule, I think this is the toughest opponent that they've seen so far and will see on their schedule. Out of their 10 scheduled games, I think Troop is the toughest one. It's in Troop. It's a tough place to play. It's not easy to get a win over there in Troop. West Rusk went there last year. That was a game of the week, West Rusk and Troop. And Troop won, or West Rusk won 13-9 in that one. And that West Rusk team last year was putting up some points too, not to the extent that New Diana is this year. But I think the Eagles are rocking and rolling right now. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they don't put up 60, but they still get the win over Troop.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have a couple of the next 2 games are in that 9-4A Division 1 district. It's a couple of big matchups here. The first one is Henderson travels to Pine Tree in a huge game in this district. As we talked about a while ago, we kind of went through and we have no idea how this is all going to turn out. We've got, all these different options of ways it can go. You look at Henderson and what they've done. Their only loss was to Liberty Isla. We mentioned that earlier by 3 points. Other than that, they beat everybody on their schedule. They won a close game against Kilgore early in district play at Kilgore, no less. So now they're going to travel to Pine Tree and see if they can get the win. Now, this one's a tough one. This one's probably, of all the games I've got on of the slate here, the toughest one for me to pick. I know what Pine Tree's done, and I feel like they're a really solid team. Their only loss on the season was to Kilgore, but then Henderson beat Kilgore. So it's hard to say. What I saw of the Kilgore-Henderson game, I saw a first half where Kilgore just wasn't in the game. And I think the second half, when Kilgore turned it on, I think they were the better team. I think Henderson did enough to win, but I don't necessarily know that they were the better team overall. So I'm gonna stick with it. I thought Pine Tree was originally the 3rd best team in this district when we started. We talked preseason. So I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say Pine Tree at home gets the win over Henderson and just shakes everything up, continues to just everyone beats everyone in this district. And it's gonna be interesting coming down the stretch.
This is a fun one. This is going to be a fun one. I wish we were at this game Friday. I want to watch this one. Henderson's been putting up a ton of points. I mean, take away that Maybank game last week. Outside of that, they've been putting up a ton of points with 45 in week 1, 41, then 42, 62, 62, 27, and then 14. But Longview or Pine Tree, their kind of identity this year has been more defense. So you got a classic battle of a high-powered offense going up against a really stout defense. I haven't been able to see Henderson this year, but I've seen Pine Tree against Van, and I was just real impressed with their speed and their intensity on defense. They were hitting people. They were big. They were fast. I haven't seen Henderson in person, so I don't know them as well. But I do think that defense wins championships. And in order to win a district championship, you got to have some really good defense. Not a shot at Henderson. They obviously have a good defense. They are where they're at for a reason. But because of the defense, I think Pine Tree's defense is a little better. And they're at home. I'm going to take the Pine Tree Pirates to beat Henderson.
All right.
But I don't feel great about that pick. I don't feel great about it. I can see it going the other way easily. I'm a 50-50 on this one.
Yeah, I think that I feel kind of the same way. All right. It's that same district. Game 9. Lindale travels to Kilgore to take on the Kilgore Bulldogs. And okay, Lindalian, I'm gonna let you go first on this one. How are you feeling about your Eagles' chances to go over and steal one in Kilgore after Henderson did it? You know, can Lindale do it? They lost the last home game.
Man, listen. Last year, Lindale went to Kilgore, and kind of a similar situation where they had an opportunity to they were 2-0 in district. Lindale was and had beaten Henderson and Athens and had a chance to really get a big win over Kilgore, and got beat 64-29. It was not a great game last year for Lindale in Kilgore. This one's tough, man. I got to see Kilgore against Carthage, was really impressed with them. Then they lost that one to Gilmer, but what happened at the end of the game there? Could Kilgore have won that game? Who knows? Then the Henderson game where they got really dug themselves a hole, but came back and just lost on a walk-off field goal. So you could very well be looking at a 7-0 Kilgore team right now. I mean, it's very possible. At least 6-1 if you want to take away the Gilmer loss where whatever happened. But if you look at Lindale, I know their record isn't great. 3-3 and 1-1 in district. A win over Hallsville, a close win over Hallsville, then a low-scoring defensive affair against Mount Pleasant. They won those 2 games. A 5-point loss to Van, who has 1 loss on the season, so they're a pretty good team. We think Gilmer's pretty good, right? Well, Lindale lost by 1 point to Gilmer, 37-36. Then Chapel Hill, we know what happened in that game. Lindale came back at the end, but that was with Chapel Hill at full strength. Chapel Hill is not at full strength anymore. So when you look at all that, it's real hard for me not to pick Kilgore. Like, it is real hard for me to not just say, I think Kilgore is going to win this game. With where I'm sitting at in the pick'ems, it really doesn't matter what I do. I'm not winning. So why be unloyal to my alma mater for a pick'em that I'm not going to win? So give me the Lindale Eagles to go into Kilgore, R.E. St. John Memorial Stadium, and knock off the Kilgore Bulldogs and really throw a wrench into this district.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that would definitely throw a wrench into it. Man, Kyle, with the change, you were talking before the show, and you were all in for Kilgore, and the pressure got to you. You got on air, and you couldn't go against your ego. I get it. Hey, trust me, I get it. I fell to that pressure last week. I hope you do better. I hope it does better for you than it did me last week.
I just hope it's a close game. I just hope it's a close game.
I'm going with Kilgore. I think Kilgore is I think they're the best team in this district. I think they took a half off against Henderson, and it cost them a game, but I think that lesson has been learned. We saw that last week. They came out and just donkey stomped the Chapel Hill team that went to the state finals last year. I just think Kilgore is going to get this win. And on game 10, we have the East Texas 6A teams, the only 2 teams in 6A in East Texas, Tyler Legacy Red Raiders and the Longview Lobos. That game is at Lobo Stadium in Longview. Man, I'm happy that Legacy's doing well, but this Lobo train is it's on a roll right now. Washington is just running out of his mind. He ran out of his mind so much that he's run up to another level of college. It looks like he's going to be moving up to I feel bad for Lamar, at sports school. If he hadn't had good games, they might have gotten a steal there. But now he has a couple of great games, and the phone starts ringing. You get all these big schools calling you, and shout out to him. He deserves it. But I think that's no different. I think they're gonna play well at home at Longview Stadium, Lobo Stadium there in Longview, and the Lobos are going to get the win pretty easily over Tyler Legacy. But no shade to Legacy. I think they still got a great shot there in that district to get the playoff spot.
Yeah, the thing that concerns me with Legacy is they had a close win over Royce City, who's not doing very good this year. That kind of concerns me for Legacy, but I think Legacy still has a chance to make the playoffs. They're going to have to win a game over Rockwall or Forney at the end of the year. I think to get in, they're going to need that one more win. Usually 3 district wins will get you into the playoffs. So they're going to need to find that district win somewhere. I don't think it happens Friday night against Longview. I'm taking the Lobos, but I think they're going to have to find a win against either Rockwall or Forney to get into the playoffs. I think Legacy can do it. I think they have the talent to do it. But it's definitely going to be tough. But yeah, I'm with you. This Lobo train, Kelvin Washington, Boosie, they're rolling right now, and it's going to be. I tell you what, that Longview North Forney game coming up is going to be a big one. Both teams undefeated in district right now. That could be for a district championship when they meet up.
Yeah, and I'm just trying looking through to see if there's any other games that on the schedule that are interesting to me. Tyler High still rolling along. They're at 4-3. They're going to be at home against Burlington Centennial this week. You've got Carthage and Athens this week. That's an interesting game. Wasn't on our pick 'em, but it's in Athens. Well, hey, it's in Athens.
No, it's not.
But it will be. To me, I'm looking to see how Athens competes against Carthage because I want to see what they look like as far as in that district. Athens dropped down to Division II, so I'm curious to see how they fare against a Carthage team versus Center, because I think that Center and Athens game, whenever that is, will be the kind of the 2-3 seeding game for me in that district. So that's the interest I have in it. Not that that's why I didn't put on the pick 'em, because I would just pick Carthage. I don't know there's a game the rest of the season I don't pick Carthage. I think they're on their way to make a deep run. Let's see. A game that we'll have on NETSN. Center travels to Bullard, so that game will be on NETSN this week. As Bullard got a win in Rusk last week, we had that game also. But let's see how they fare against the Rough Riders. I'll be in, Thursday night, I'll be in Tatum for that Gladewater game. We talked about that earlier. So that game will be on NETSN. So make sure you share and let everyone know that we'll have that game on NETSN. Jaron, Josh, and myself will be there on the call. Rob will be on camera. So it should be a lot of fun, a lot of good time. We'll see what Tatum can do with that Gladewater team. Let's see. Anything else on this schedule? I'm trying to look. Oh, Atlanta and Liberty Islo. That's an interesting game. I know Liberty Islo is probably favored, but Atlanta at 5-2, looking to try to get a win over a team that's had a really good season. Mount Enterprise looks to bounce back. They played Tenaha. Tenaha played a tough, close game last week. Tenaha could be a team that you have to watch for one upset. That could really ruin someone's playoff interest in that district, because that's one of those districts that's all up in arms right now. Let's see. I'm interested in this game, Colin. This is maybe not too. They're not real close to East Texas, but they're in one of our districts. Cooper and Rivercrest is a good matchup. Cooper, we kind of were down on Cooper early, but they've kind of come around, and they're in that district with Alba Golden and Honey Grove. They're all that's an interesting little district there. So that's an interesting matchup. We'll see. Rivercrest beat Alba Golden. Was that a few weeks ago, wasn't it? A couple weeks ago. So I'm interested to see how Cooper matches up with Rivercrest. Let's see.
Yeah, that should be a good one too. I'm excited to see these, like you've mentioned, some of these smaller districts or smaller school districts and how they're going to play out, because there is some good district races going on for playoff spots, and unfortunately there's going to be some really good teams that are left out of the playoffs too.
Hey, Kyle, is there an app that you can find district standings on?
I believe there is. I believe it's the NETSN app. If you just download that, you can find it there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get to too. You can go there and look at the schedules and who plays who, and where they're standing. An interesting game for seeding purposes.
Let me see how easy it is.
Yeah. A game interesting for seeding purposes, Kyle. You got Nacogdoches and White House playing Friday night in Wildcat Stadium, trying to fight out for district and playoff implications there.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. That's a really big one for both schools. I'm not sure what's happening in Nacogdoches right now. There's a lot going on there, but White House needs a win in a big way, and so does Knack.
Yeah, that loss to Mount Pleasant a few weeks ago for White House was kind of a bad loss, I would say there. We got Honey Grove. We talked about them a while ago, but Honey Grove and Alba Golden are matched up this week, so that'll be another in that district. That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Honey Grove in that one. Alba Golden had a
Diggs' team. Remember, he's all in for that the Honey Grove squad. That's his small school DFW team. He says
they're good. They're good. Honey Grove's a solid squad, so it's going to be a tough matchup for Alba Golden. But we'll have to see how Alba Golden's defense can bounce back after that loss to Rivercrest.
Mm-hmm. How easy was that standings? By the way, Kyle, it was so easy, wasn't it?
I didn't want to say anything because I couldn't find it.
Oh no! All you got to do is go to the schedule, and it shows their district.
Oh, go to the team schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, I was looking for like a category. Okay, hold on. Okay, view team.
Yeah.
View team and district.
Follow your favorite team and then go right to their district standings. There it is. Look at that. Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah.
There.
It does work.
Henderson on top of that.
It does work. Maybe we should have a tab of district standings where you could just, go look all at once.
That's a good idea. Maybe I know somebody might be able to give a suggestion to that. I'll be in Brownsboro Friday night for a battle. Yeah, I'll be in Brownsboro. It'll be the Rusk Eagles against the Brownsboro Bears in a slugfest slobber knocker, trying to see who can get a district win. And so that's where I'll be. We'll also have the Garrison St. Augustine game on the network. So that's we talk about St. Augustine being one of those teams that could throw a wrench in someone. So game in St. Augustine. So Garrison needs to go on the road and get a win there. Yeah,
then good luck in Brownsboro. You're going to be using Starlink, right?
That is correct, Kyle. That is correct.
That service over there is not good.
I already know. We drove through there and back and forth through there on our trip. So yeah. So we'll have we may have the first ever live broadcast out of Brownsboro on video. I don't know. Maybe who knows? But yeah, that's going to wrap up our day.
Ever in your favor.
That's going to wrap up our schedule. And like Kyle said, he'll be in that Troop and New Diana game. So I'm excited to hear about that next week here on the show. So maybe we can. I guess we've ran everybody off. Hopefully, we can have some other friends join us, Kyle. I enjoyed just me and you, but I don't know. Maybe we intimidate everyone. I don't know what it is.
Well, when you're the two best pickers in here, excluding Corey, because I just had a bad week with Hail Marys. I should be ahead of Corey, but when you have the two best pickers here on this show, it scares everybody off. So
yeah.
I would take it as a compliment.
Yeah, I don't even see the great Brandon Ogden on the top of the board. What's going on? What's up with that? I don't know. It just shows
too much wrestling.
Yeah, that is true. Too much wrestling is a good statement because we had a lot of that last night. I enjoyed it. Hey, but if you like wrestling, just to give a plug, Off the Ropes tomorrow night here on the network. We'll talk about Wrestle Dream. So if you like wrestling or you just want to come listen to us talk about wrestling, we'll be here. And it should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. So if you like that kind of stuff, but that's going to wrap up our show for this week, the Beast from East Week 8. Make sure you get your pick'ems in time. Remember, there's a Thursday game on the pick'em, so make sure you get them in before that Thursday game if you don't want to miss one. For Mr. Red Zone, K.O. Kyle Owens, I'm Mr. NETSN Brett when he's signing off. We'll see you next week. Good luck in your picks and have a great rest of your week and weekend. See you.
on you every play tonight, okay? And then come out and have fun. The gates are locked. Ain't nobody getting out now. They can't run. The gates are locked. Let's bring the fight to them, guys. Yes, sir. All right, brother. Let's pray.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NETSN.